Hello, world. It's the old monk man here, tackling another question. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. Kind of a different topic than what we've been covering. It says, Monk, what are your thoughts on the law of attraction? Well, the law of attraction is real. It's a universal law. The basics of that, for those of you who don't know or aren't familiar with it, is that like attracts like. Like begets like. I think what this person is referring to is, do I think it's real? Yes, I do. I just answered that. But how does it work? I'm not really sure what exactly they all mean, but I'll give you my take on it. It's absolutely real. It's a universal law. A lot of people think, though, you get into understanding the law of attraction and you know, it's about this power of positive thinking, which is absolutely true. Positive thinking does have power because what you have to understand is that your brain is like a radio transmitter. It sends and receives signals, and it does it whether you're doing it intentionally and consciously or you're doing it subconsciously or unconsciously. Your brain is sending and receiving signals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and your brain's been doing that in your entire life. But a lot of people think you got to program your subconscious to transmit what you want to come. Basically, law of attraction would be you would want to program your subconscious to transmit one thing in order to receive something back that way. I think there's an amount of truth to it, but the problem you run into by examining and operating your life that way is that you become so worried about what you're putting out that you end up putting back worry, which ends up sending more circumstances, more situations, more things to get you worried about. But really, that would be a gift. This is the way I look at it. Any situation you receive, any circumstance you find yourself in, is there's there's an opportunity to learn. The way I look at it is there aren't any situations where I lose. And you should look at it that way too. There's not a situation where you're going to lose. If you don't win, fine. It's just an opportunity for you to learn and grow. And actually, you're probably going to learn more and grow more by losing or not having your ideal situation come forward. All that being said, another thing with the law of attraction is people have this idea of, oh, if I transmit this image or if I transmit this thing about law of attraction is it's your thought mixed with feeling. You can think a thought, but if there's no feeling behind it, no emotion behind it, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just a dead thought. It's a dead work. That's why religion is so deadly, because these are dead rituals with no feeling behind them. You have a relationship with ritual rather than, some feeling, some emotion, some passion, some burning desire behind the things that you are thinking, doing, praying, and therefore, guess what you receive back when you're putting that out? You receive more dead stuff. So you have to be putting out life. But instead of sitting around worrying about, am I putting this out? Am I putting that out? Really, you just got to get your vibe higher. You have to get yourself higher. And there are different frequencies your brain puts out. And now I know this sounds a little woo-woo for a lot of you, but it is reality. There are different frequencies you put out according to different moods you are in. And scientists have actually measured this. For instance, fear is one vibration, death is the lowest vibration, love is actually the highest vibration they've measured. They've done several studies and measure them. Maybe I'll link them to the video if I have time. If not, start looking the stuff up. Start playing around with it. Don't take my word for it just because I'm sitting here talking about it. Go figure it out for yourself. All I'm talking about might be a seed to get you going into a different area. But I would say that sitting around worrying about what you're putting in and what you're putting out is not the best way to be. I'd say, yes, it's a real thing, but you got to get yourself just to a point where, you're just loving and enjoying your life so much, you're not even thinking about what you're putting out and what's coming back in. However, when your senses are tuned to this, you can see, you'll start to see like, oh, boom, that came in, cool. Oh, boom, that came in, cool. But a lot of people get into, oh, the law of attraction is not a real thing. It's a universal law. It's sowing and reaping. Jesus talks about it. The Apostle Paul talks about it. It's sowing and reaping. But we always think sowing and reaping in the ground, sowing and reaping with actions. Yes, those are all parts of it, but it's sowing and reaping also with your thoughts. Sowing and reaping with your mind, sowing and reaping with your will, sowing and reaping with your emotions. That's the law of attraction. We can also look at it as a type of trading. You're trading, you're trading your substance for another substance. Some people trade for bad substances, darkness, death. Other people trade for heavenly substances, life. It's trading. That's all it is. So, but where you want to get is where you're not even worried about what you're putting out and what's coming in. You're just you're so grateful for your life, and you're enjoying your life so much that everything else happens as a byproduct, and then the things you really want to happen just come in like a flood, like a river. They come in quicker than you can even describe. The other thing is you have to accept that where you are at, whatever's going on in your life right now, is 100% your fault. I'll say that again. You have to accept that where you're at, whatever situation you're in right now, is 100% your fault. You have made every decision, you have thought every thought, and you have held every emotion that has resulted in putting you at where you're sitting right now. Might be a tough pill to swallow, but you got to grow a pair and accept it. The reason this is important, because if you don't, you'll never take the reins and take control of this trading that you do with eternity, that you do with God, that you do with heaven. You'll never take responsibility for it. And you'll continue trading with stuff you don't really want to be trading with. Because if you're messing around with that stuff and you don't even realize it, guess what? It makes the world worse for me. I want everyone to know this stuff, because when you get better, I get better. When I get better, you get better. So come on, you have to take 100% responsibility for all of it, because that releases you from being a victim. That releases you from being a slave. So there are a few thoughts on the law of attraction. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I've been thinking this thought, I've been holding on to this thing, and it's not coming in. Well, that's part of it. You got to accept, hey, maybe it's not the right time. Or maybe the reality is you're getting in your own way. It's not the right time because you're getting in your own way, and you have to trust that God, the universe, whatever you're going to call him, I'm just going to call him God. Don't be afraid of it. Oh, that's going on religious. Deal with it. Call him God. Yes, yeah. I'll call God a man, God the Father. But yeah, you got to accept the reality of that situation. A lot of people think, oh, I've been praying, the Christian way of messing with the law of attraction is praying, begging God to move on their behalf. Well, come on. You might not be ready to get that thing you've been asking for. So what? Deal with it. You're exactly where you need to be, and you got to trust God in that process. You got to trust It's not about the end result, it's about the journey and that's taking place. It's about who you're becoming, because character is very important when you get into these universal laws and principles. But just because you don't get what you want right there at that exact moment, or even if you've been, transmitting what you think you want for a long time and hasn't come in, and in fact the opposite might have come in, that's all right. Because there's another law called the law of resistance. And I would say even you should actually be worried if you keep sending stuff out and there's not a little resistance. Because what comes with the law of retraction usually is something called the law of resistance. And it's a universal law that says when you're about to get something, especially getting something really big, the universe, God, whatever, is going to test you to see if you have the character and the resilience necessary to receive that gift you are about to receive. So if it doesn't quite go your way about that thing, it's okay. You're exactly where you need to be. It's going to transform you in what you need to become in order to receive, or become that thing that you've been asking for. It might not look like the pretty little mental picture you have in your head, but the feeling and the substance of it is exactly what you've been asking for. So there you go. A little bit on that. Keep sending me your questions. This is fun. This was a fun one for me, definitely. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.